In the heart of the bustling casino, the air vibrated with excitement. Among the crowd was a gambler named Victor, a man whose reputation preceded him. With his dark hair slicked back and a confident smirk always playing on his lips, he thrived in the high-stakes world of cards and chance. Victor had an almost magnetic presence that drew people in, whether they were friends or foes. He loved nothing more than the adrenaline rush that came from risky bets. To him, each card held a secret, a whisper of fate that could lead to fortune or destruction. It was in these moments, surrounded by darkness and glittering lights, that he felt truly alive. He was a master of reading not just cards but also people, knowing exactly when to bluff and when to call their bluffs. As the night wore on, whispers of his latest challenge began to circulate, hinting at an extraordinary wager, one that would test not only his skills but his very life. The thrill of risk called to him like a siren's song, and Victor knew he was ready for whatever fate awaited him at the poker table. The dimly lit casino pulsed with an electric energy, a world where shadows danced beneath flickering lights. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. As players leaned forward, eyes focused on the tables. The soft clinking of chips echoed like music, punctuated by the crisp sound of cards being shuffled, a melody that spoke of risk and reward. Around him, people were caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Some laughed heartily, while others sat in tense silence, their brows furrowed in concentration. Every expression told a story, joy for the winners and desperation for those who had lost a little too much. The scent of rich tobacco mingled with the sweet aroma of drinks, creating a heady mix that both excited and intoxicated the senses. Victor felt this charged environment wrap around him as he moved toward his table. The stakes were high, and the thrill of what lay ahead sent his heart racing. He could sense the tension rising among his fellow players, each one ready to gamble not just their money, but their will to win. As he took his seat, the sounds of the casino faded into the background. All that mattered now was the game and the fate that awaited him. Victor settled into his seat at the poker table, casting a sharp glance around at the other players. The dealer shuffled the cards, and the air crackled with tension. It was more than just a game. It was a chance to double or lose everything. Victor leaned forward, his voice steady but commanding as he announced his wager. His life. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and astonished eyes turned toward him. He felt a rush of adrenaline as murmurs swirled around the room. The stakes had never been higher, and Victor thrived in such moments. With every heartbeat, he could feel the weight of his decision pressing down on him. This wasn't just about winning money. It was about testing the very boundaries of fate and courage. The players exchanged uneasy glances, weighing their options against the audacity of his challenge. As the cards were dealt, Victor's expression remained calm, betraying none of the swirling emotions within. To him, each card was a potential pathway to glory or disaster. The stakes were set, and with a confident smirk, he prepared to face whatever fate had in store, knowing that in this game, only one would walk away victorious. As the cards were dealt, Victor's gaze shifted to his rival across the table, Marcus. With piercing blue eyes and a cool demeanor, Marcus was just as skilled and cunning, having earned a reputation that kept players on edge. The two of them shared a complicated history, filled with fierce competitions and grudging respect. They had faced off many times before, but this match felt different. It was deeply personal. Years ago, Marcus had bested Victor in a tournament that had cost him everything: his confidence, his standing, and a substantial sum of money. Since then, their rivalry had simmered, fueled by unspoken tension and the desire for redemption. Victor had longed for an opportunity to reclaim his pride, and the stakes in tonight's game elevated everything to new heights. As they exchanged glances, a silent challenge passed between them. Both knew that this game would define their legacies. While the other players fidgeted nervously, Victor found strength in knowing that beating Marcus would not only mean winning the game but also settling old scores. As the cards lay before them, both men prepared to unleash their strategies, ready to outsmart the other in a battle of wits. As the dealer began to shuffle the cards, a hush fell over the table, amplifying the anticipation that crackled in the air. The sound of cards sliding against each other was like a heartbeat, steady and rhythmic, as players leaned in closer, their eyes flickering between the dealer's hands and Victor's calm composure. Victor exuded confidence, his casual smirk never wavering even as the stakes soared. He could feel the weight of every gaze upon him, but instead of feeling pressure, he embraced it as fuel. The atmosphere was electric. Whispers of excitement buzzed from onlookers gathering around, eager to witness this extraordinary game unfold. The dealer's hands moved skillfully, mixing the deck with an expert touch. Each shuffle seemed to hold promise and peril, and Victor knew that soon he would be faced with choices that could change everything. While others fidgeted nervously or exchanged anxious glances, he took a deep breath and centered himself. This was not just another game. It was a moment that would define his future. As the final cards settled into place, Victor locked eyes with Marcus once more, a silent acknowledgement passing between them that only intensified the tension. It was time for fate to reveal its hand. The dealer began dealing the cards, one by one, and Victor's heart raced with each flip. The first card slid toward him, a queen of hearts. He felt a surge of excitement but kept his expression neutral, knowing it was just the beginning. The second card followed, revealing a four of spades, which made him furrow his brow slightly. It wasn't exactly what he had hoped for, but there was still room for strategy. As the dealer continued, Victor's focus sharpened. Each new card could either be a blessing or a curse. He observed Marcus out of the corner of his eye, trying to read any tells that might reveal his rival's thoughts. The third card hit the table, a king of diamonds. A grin tugged at Victor's lips. This was starting to turn in his favor. With every card dealt, the atmosphere thickened with suspense. The other players were silent now, eyes glued to Victor and Marcus as they assessed their hands. He knew he had to play it smart. Victory rested not only on luck but also on tactics and timing. As the fourth card approached, Victor's mind raced with possibilities. Would fate smile upon him today? As the cards lay before him, Victor's mind raced, reflecting on the path that had led him to this perilous moment. It was a combination of ambition and recklessness that had fueled his journey into the high-stakes world of gambling. He remembered the thrill of his first big win, the rush that came with defying the odds. But now, with his very life on the line, that thrill felt different, more intense and terrifying. Victor's thoughts drifted to his past losses, especially the one against Marcus that haunted him. Losing everything back then had felt like more than just a financial setback. It had shaken his confidence and altered how others viewed him. This game offered a chance at redemption, a way to reclaim not just his pride but also his sense of self-worth. Yet, as he assessed his hand, doubts flickered at the edges of his mind. What if this gamble ended in tragedy? He wrestled with the fear of losing it all again, yet embraced the possibility of victory with equal fervor. The line between success and failure had never been so thin, and he reveled in the danger while knowing that fortune favored the bold. In this moment, Victor felt truly alive, ready to confront whatever fate had in store. As the first round progressed, Marcus played his cards with a calculated precision that kept everyone on edge. He raised the stakes early, pushing chips forward with a confident flair that suggested he held a powerful hand. Victor felt the tension in the air thicken as players exchanged nervous glances, their unease mirroring his own. It was clear that Marcus had come prepared, and he was determined to assert dominance. With each round, Marcus revealed more of his strategy. He played aggressively, bluffs woven seamlessly into his gameplay. A well-timed raise here, a carefully controlled smirk there. He was a master of manipulation. Victor countered with steadiness, weighing his options carefully and watching for any sign of weakness. When Marcus bet heavily again, Victor called, knowing he needed to challenge his rival's bravado. The stakes escalated, and Victor could feel the eyes of the crowd upon them as chips piled higher. The game shifted between moments of silence and bursts of excitement. Every decision held weight. As they approached the final rounds, Victor realized that this battle was not just about cards but also about wills. Two rivals locked in a duel where only one would emerge unscathed. As the final round approached, the tension in the room reached its peak. With chips piled high, both players were aware that a single move could change everything. Suddenly, Marcus leaned back, a thoughtful expression on his face. He studied Victor closely, as if trying to gauge his opponent's mental state. Then, unexpectedly, he pushed all of his remaining chips into the center of the table, declaring an all-in bet. The audacity of this move caught everyone off guard. Gasps echoed around the table as eyes widened in disbelief. Victor's heart raced. The weight of Marcus's wager felt like a freight train barreling toward him. It was more than just a financial risk. It was an assertion of dominance that demanded Victor's full attention. For a moment, time seemed to freeze as Victor processed what had just happened. He could sense the crowd's anticipation intensifying, hanging on his every reaction. His pulse quickened as visions of past failures flickered in his mind. This was not only about winning but about survival itself. With a steely resolve returning, Victor took a deep breath and prepared himself to respond, knowing this pivotal moment could either lead to his redemption or seal his fate for good. The moment of truth had arrived. With all eyes fixed on the table, Victor and Marcus slowly revealed their hands, the tension palpable in the dimly lit room. Victor flipped over his cards first. He held a pair of kings, his heart pounding as the realization set in that he was one step closer to victory. He glanced at Marcus, searching for any hint of confidence that might crack under pressure. Marcus smiled as he revealed a straight, his cards artfully displayed. A 10, a jack, a queen, and an ace, just enough to put him in the lead. Cheers erupted around the table. Some players clutched their chips in disbelief while others exchanged nervous glances. The excitement reached a fever pitch as Victor felt a rush of adrenaline course through him. But Victor wasn't finished yet. In a bold move, he reached for the final card tucked beneath his stack, his ace. The crowd fell silent as he turned it over with a flourish. Another king, a three of a kind. Gasps echoed around the poker table, and all eyes widened in astonishment. Marcus's expression shifted from smug confidence to shock. Victor's heart soared. This gamble could finally end their rivalry once and for all. As the realization of victory washed over Victor, a wave of emotions surged through him. Initially, disbelief flickered in his eyes, followed by a rush of joy that momentarily left him breathless. He had wagered not just money but his very life, and now, standing on the brink of triumph, he felt as if he could float above the table. The sounds of the casino faded into a distant hum, replaced by a deep-rooted sense of relief mingled with exhilaration. Suddenly, the cheers from the crowd erupted around him, breaking the spell. Victor looked up to see smiles and high-fives everywhere, players and onlookers celebrating his daring win. He exchanged glances with Marcus, whose expression shifted from shock to resignation. It was a moment Victor had longed for. Unleashing a smirk, he felt a newfound confidence swell within him. This victory was not only about beating Marcus but about reclaiming his identity after so many uncertain losses. He knocked back a drink, letting it slide down his throat as satisfaction enveloped him. The thrill of winning fueled his spirit. For the first time in ages, Victor felt invincible, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead in his gambling journey. As the adrenaline faded and the echoes of celebration quieted, Victor found himself lost in thought, reflecting on his journey through the whirlwind of risk and reward. Winning had brought him joy and restored his confidence, but beneath that was a deeper understanding of what it truly meant to gamble. He realized that every card dealt was not just a stroke of luck but a reflection of his choices, both at the table and in life. Victor considered the risks he had taken, not only in gambling but also in his decisions and relationships. Each gamble had shaped him, teaching lessons of resilience and humility. He learned that while luck played a role, it was his willingness to face fear and uncertainty that ultimately led him to triumph. Looking back at Marcus, he recognized that their fierce rivalry had pushed him toward greatness. It wasn't merely about winning. It was about proving to himself that he could rise from past failures. With newfound clarity, Victor understood that life itself was a game of chance, full of unexpected turns. Embracing this truth, he felt ready for whatever lay ahead, aware now more than ever that true victory came from within. The casino's vibrant energy buzzed around Victor as he stood there, the weight of triumph resting heavily on his shoulders. With his hands still trembling from the adrenaline, he glanced at the disheveled pile of chips in front of him, a tangible reminder of his victory and the risks he had taken. The cheers of the crowd faded into a warm chorus as they celebrated not just his win, but the fierce battle that had unfolded. Victor took a deep breath, absorbing the realization that each gamble, each wager of his life, was part of a larger journey. His eyes swept over the familiar faces of fellow gamblers, some nodding in respect while others offered congratulatory slaps on the back. Despite the victory, a small part of him felt still tethered to the thrill of uncertainty, the allure of taking chances that kept him coming back for more. As he raised his glass in salute to the crowd, he smiled knowingly at Marcus, whose defeated expression held both admiration and defeat. Victor understood then that there would always be another game, another risk, another opportunity to dance with fate. It was this unpredictable nature of life, intertwined with chance and choice, that made him fall in love with the game all over again.